Hey there, everybody. Welcome into the show. You're watching the San Francisco 49ers Report. My name is Chase Sr. Hope you're all getting set to have a fantastic weekend. Coming up here on today's edition of the Niners Report, changes and adjustments that Kyle Shanahan and the 49ers can make on offense to beat Mike McDonald and one of the top defenses in the NFL in the Seattle Seahawks. Before we get into that, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and join us as I'm bringing you Elite Niners coverage every single day, year-round, right here on the program. But as we always do, we go live for every Niners game for a watch party. It's the best place to experience a Niners game day outside of being at the actual game. So we'll be live for a Niners-Seahawks divisional round watch party, hoping to go over 200,000 views to beat our number from last week. Hit that subscribe button, but also hit that bell icon. Turn on your notifications. Therefore, anytime I publish a video, anytime we go live, you'll get that push notification. So this will be the third matchup this year between the Niners and the Seahawks. So quickly, let's recap what has happened in the first two games this season. The first matchup, week 1, to kick off the 2025 campaign. The Niners win in a comeback thriller, 17-13. The Niners able to drive 90-plus yards on the opening drive of the game. Brock Purdy found George Kittle on that out route to score to start the season. Then the Niners offense went cold. And that Seahawks defense showed us what we've seen all year, that in week 1, they were on their way to becoming a very disruptive unit. And so the Niners went scoreless in the second quarter, in the third quarter, and then they rallied for 10 points in the fourth quarter. A Jake Moody field goal, throwback name right there, and then Brock Purdy went 5 for 5 on that game-winning drive. Had another game-winning drive in the wild card round against the Eagles. He's got that clutch gene. And that unbelievable improvisational play where he bought time in the pocket, rolled to his right, threw it up for Jake Tonches, and Jake Tonches made himself a legend in this rivalry. Now, Brock in that game did throw 2 interceptions. The Nick Bosa strip sack sealed the game. He pushed Abraham Lucas into the lap of Sam Darnold, and that was the ball game. The Niners offense in that game against the Seahawks fared a lot better in week 1 than they did in week 18. San Francisco wasn't terrible. They moved the ball, but Jake Moody missed a field goal in that game. They did put up 384 yards of total offense, 5.3 yards per play. That'll play. Purdy threw for 265 yards. The Niners did run it for more than 100 yards, although the yards per carry at 3.3, it was around that average all year long. The Niners 30th in yards per carry this season. The 2 turnovers, obviously not ideal. And the Niners did win time of possession by possessing the football for nearly 38 minutes. The Seahawks offense against the Niners. Seattle's offense kind of struggled against San Francisco, but of course, the injuries have really plagued the Niners unit from that point forward. Seattle only had 230 yards of total offense, 4.6 yards per play. Sam Darnold only threw for 146 yards. The Niners' run defense was good. That was a point of emphasis throughout the offseason. Seattle also turned it over 2 times, so an even split there. And they only possessed the ball for 22 minutes. Then, week 18, the Niners, I thought in that game, were bullied in the trenches. And San Francisco could not run the ball at all. The Niners had under 200 yards of total offense at home. And Brock Purdy only averaged about 4 yards per pass. The defense, not like they played in week 1. They were bad against the run, but okay in general. This Niners offense, you look at the numbers against Seattle, 173 total yards in week 18. That has to change here in the divisional round. Brock Purdy only threw for the 120 yards. Niners only ran it for 53 yards. That is a point of emphasis this week as well. The Niners, once they got in the red zone, turned it over. Bad one for Christian McCaffrey there. And the Seahawks dominated time of possession in the second matchup. Seattle had it for nearly 38 minutes. And the big number right here, the Seahawks' ability to run the rock and possess the football. 39 carries for 180 yards, 4.6 yards per carry, and did not turn the ball over once. They did have 361 yards of total offense, 5.4 yards per play, but I thought they played it extremely safe with Sam Darnold. There's a weird quirk in this game. It is very rare at the NFL level that one team has to play another team in back-to-back games. That is the case for the Seahawks. They played the Niners in Week 18. They had the bye week. They played the Niners again in the divisional round. The only time it happens is if it overlaps from the regular season to the playoffs, and that's what's happening here with the Seahawks. And it was a point of conversation this week for Seahawks head coach Mike McDonald, who said this: "It's a little funky going against a team 2 games in a row. We've got to do a great job of debriefing and having some answers, knowing that Kyle Shanahan will have some stuff dialed up for us." And Kyle Shanahan will have some things dialed up. How's he going to fare against Mike McDonald? In the past, he hasn't fared well against him. 5 matchups between the two as Kyle Shanahan has gone up against Mike McDonald when McDonald has been the head coach of the Seahawks, but also the defensive coordinator for the Ravens back during that Christmas matchup in 2023. And Shanahan, 2-3 against McDonald. Now, Brock Purdy is now, I think, 5-2 against the Seahawks in his career, and he has not lost in Seattle. So Purdy has that working for him. The big number here for San Francisco is that Shanahan's offense is only averaging 18.4 points per game in 5 matchups against McDonald's defense. It's very modern day, and we'll talk more about that coming up here in just a bit and what makes it so good. And you look at Shanahan's points per game by season since becoming the head coach of the 49ers. He's always been deemed as an offensive mastermind. In 2017, year 1, 20.7 points per game, 20th in the NFL. 2018, 21.4 points per game, 21st in the NFL. Rebuilding years. Niners make it to the Super Bowl in 2019. They averaged nearly 30 points per game, 2nd in the league. Injury-plagued season in 2020, 23.5 points per game. That was 21st. Made it to the NFC Championship game in 2021, 25.1 points per game. That was 13th. In 2022, the trade of Christian McCaffrey helped out that offense a lot. 26.5 points per game. That was 6th. In 2023, year that the Niners made it to the Super Bowl, 28.9 points per game. That was 3rd. Last year, 14th at 22.9. This year, back inside the top 10, 25.7 points per game, 10th in the NFL. So Shanahan against McDonald, his points per game, much lower against McDonald than any year as a head coach for the most part, as the head coach of the Niners. So what makes Mike McDonald's defenses so good? What you will see on Saturday night, what you've seen before, is that he will give you a lot of heavy disguises and a lot of post-snap rotation. He'll show blitz, he'll back out of it. Sometimes he will pressure you with the blitz, but he's not a huge blitzer because he loves his 4-man pressures with stunts. It's another look that the Niners offensive line will see up front, and Brock Purdy as well. His players also are very versatile. Nick Emmanwori is a great example of that. They use him all around the field. The same can be said for a Kobe Bryant. Some of his defensive linemen, very versatile. So you have that, and then the multiplicity from the players on his defensive roster. This year, Seattle, one of the top teams in the NFL at stopping the run, maybe the best. They're also suffocating in short yardage situations, and they're really good in the red zone. They limit explosive plays with that too high shell, and a good indication of players liking who they play for is their hustle, their motor, and them rallying to the ball on defense and tackling really well. The Seahawks do all of that at a very high level. So what can the Niners do to find success against Seattle, to be much better than they were in Week 18? We're going to get into that here in a moment. But we're talking Niners-Seahawks here. A tremendous rivalry. So you know what we did this week? I connected with our design guy, Arnold, and I told him we need to make some F Seattle shirts. So we have a couple of versions, and you can get yours today at chatsports.com/F Seattle. This is a close-up look. You've got Sourdough Sam, the Niners mascot, choking out the Seahawks mascot. F Seattle text on the bottom. If you want that logo shirt, you can find it. Great conversation starter, and it looks awesome, right? There's also just plain text shirts for F Seattle week, okay? You've got the red base with the gold font, close-up look. You see the text there, very clean. If you want a black shirt with gold text, Niner Gold, it's fresh. You can also find that using our link, chatsports.com/F Seattle. We have sold a bunch of the Dub City collection shirts and hoodies. Get your F Seattle shirts. And the good thing about these and why I wanted to make them, this rivalry ain't going anywhere. You can wear this any time of the year, and you can wear it in the lead up to Niners Seahawks. All right, how the Niners can beat Seattle's defense, some changes that they can make, what Kyle Shanahan can do to have success against Mike McDonald. This offensive line in the divisional round has to be better than they were in Week 18. That is from a pass protection standpoint, and that is from a run game point of view. Brock Purdy in Week 18 was pressured on 12 of 32 dropbacks, 38%, second highest rate for him this year. When Purdy was pressured, he barely had time to drop back and barely had a clean pocket. He was 4 of 8 for 29 yards. He was also sacked 3 times. The Seahawks really up front wrecked the game. And they also did such a great job of stopping Christian McCaffrey. And they've done a good job against CMC this season. In 2 games against the Seahawks, CMC only has 22 carries for 92 yards, 3.1 yards per carry, has not found the end zone once, and has a long run of 13 yards. So Kyle Shanahan needs to do a good job of scheming open the ground game and finding ways to protect Brock Purdy. A big reason why the Seahawks are able to dominate up front, the interior of their defensive line. Mike McDonald's got some dogs up front. Leonard Williams is a stud. So too is Byron Murphy. And then Jaron Reed is a really good player. What could help the Niners is that this week they have Trent Williams. In Week 18, they did not. Week 1 against the Seahawks, when the Niners ran behind Trent Williams, they found success. 7 carries for 43 yards, 6.1 yards per carry. Week 18, when the Niners were without Trent Williams and they ran behind Austin Pleasance, 5 carries for 14 yards, 2.8 yards per carry. That is the Trent Williams impact right there. Key to the game number 2. If the Niners can get Ricky Pearsall back for this game, it would be huge. And I've been really impressed with the podcast that Dante Whitner does with Patrick Willis. Their defensive insights, especially because they were great defensive players, is phenomenal. And I thought Whitner put this perfectly, and he always talks with a lot of swagger. I love it. He said this about Ricky Pearsall. Ricky Pearsall is the biggest key to the game. When you go back and watch Week 1, he put Reek Woolen in a blender. The Seattle defensive backs are afraid of Ricky Pearsall. And you want to know why? Because they see a poor man's Jackson Smith-Njigba. Same body mannerisms, same smoothness, the ability to push the ball vertically. I've talked about this for weeks. The double move, catches the ball over the middle, run after the catch, red zone threat. If Ricky Pearsall plays this week, it's not even close. The Niners will go into Seattle and blow out the Seattle Seahawks. Bold statement there from Dante Whitner on the prediction, but I agree with the usage and the impact of Slick Rick. Key to the game number 3, how to beat Seattle's defense here. Kyle Shanahan needs to utilize Demarcus Robinson. And Larry Krueger was talking about an exchange that he had a couple of weeks ago with D-Rob, and he went up to Demarcus Robinson and he said, the Niners haven't been utilizing you. And Demarcus Robinson said, I know. Well, what happened last week when Ricky Pearsall was out and the Niners needed some juice at wide receiver? They went the way of Demarcus Robinson, and he balled out against the Eagles. 61-yarder on the opening drive to set up a touchdown that he later scored on Brock Purdy's game-winning drive late in the fourth quarter. Demarcus Robinson had a big catch to flip the field and put the Niners into Eagles territory. He was targeted 7 times, had 6 catches, 111 yards, 18.5 yards per catch, 1 touchdown. And he's never been a speed demon, but last year he averaged like 15, 16, 17 yards per catch with the Rams. He wasn't really a factor in Week 18. He was suspended in Week 1. This is an adjustment and a change that Kyle Shanahan needs to make, and he did it against the Eagles. I want to see it continue. Jake Tonches time. You don't have George Kittle. And a credit to the Niners for being able to survive without George Kittle against the Eagles. And that is both within the game, but also emotionally and spiritually. Because George Kittle, like Fred Warner, the heartbeat of the team. And Jake Tonches is a really good pass-catching tight end. He's a good athlete, moves well, has good hands, good size at 6'4", 240. After George Kittle went out, Brock Purdy targeted him a couple times, but it's hard to make that in-game adjustment of trying to draw up plays for Tonches when you didn't plan for that. throughout the week. Now that you have a week to prepare and you know that Jake Tonches is going to be your tight end, he can be utilized as a mismatch against his Seahawks team that was Velcro against the Niners in Week 18. And then lastly, Kyle Shanahan's going to have to be in his bag. And if he's able to win this game, send the play script to Canton, Ohio, so that it can be a part of the Hall of Fame. Because this Seahawks defense is so good from a coaching standpoint to a personnel standpoint. The Niners are short on players on offense and on defense. And this is where Kyle Shanahan has to be at his best. From a play calling standpoint, a situational standpoint, with his play designs, the game planning, making in-game adjustments. The Niners can't go out there and have a performance where they score 3 points like they did in Week 18. That would be soul-crushing. And we've seen great moments from Kyle Shanahan. The win against the Eagles, it was incredible. The win against the Packers in 2021, what a win over the 1 seed at the time. The win on the road before that against the Dallas Cowboys, incredible. Coming back from 24-7 against the Lions, that was epic. Kyle Shanahan is now 9-4 in the playoffs. It's a great postseason record, and he gives you a chance every single week. But this is a game where he's got to be on his P's and Q's. This is a game where Kyle Shanahan has to get creative. And if you need to call that big play, like it was the trick play against the Eagles, Kyle Shanahan has to have that in his back pocket. And I'm really excited to see what he can do. Because I'm not going to say it's a legacy-defining game, but Kyle Shanahan, if he wins this game, it would be a tremendous, tremendous victory. So predict the score, some changes, adjustments, things I want to see this Niners offense do against the Seahawks team. Predict the score down below in the comments section. I can't wait for this game.